What is up, guys? Reverend Gamer here today to begin our new series on Project Zomboid's Beginner Guide. Now, I want to preface with the fact that this guide is for beginners. However, as we go through this game, as you watch it, as you play it, it's going to transition from a beginner's guide to more of a playthrough. Because as we get into the weeds, as we get better at the game, as we start going through things, it's going to transition from beginner level stuff to intermediate to expert. So I guess it's an all-encompassing guide to Project Zomboid. Now, I don't claim to be an expert. I am definitely not an expert myself. However, I have had quite a bit of time to play and learn from mistakes and just overall get good. I shouldn't say good, just get better at the game. So today we're going to be starting that guide by, first of all, heading over to, not a new game, but we're going to head over to the mods folder. And I'm going to post, if you look at the description for the video, there's going to be a list of my mods, but I have quite a few mods to go through here. And we're not going to go through any of them in particular. I just want to mention the fact that I have about 136 mods that I'm going to share with you guys. And this list is growing a lot, but there's just some really good stuff in here that most of my mods are quality of life mods. However, there's just some really fun mods, like there's some, new vehicles. There's some mods that are really going to help new people, such as there is a journal mod that is just really good for new players, and there's just some other like error magnifier mod that just helps understand, stuff like that. So this mod is, if you're a new player and you want to get into playing more than just the vanilla aspect of the game, then these mods, they're going to be for you. Alright, so one other thing I want to mention is that I did actually forget to add error magnifier to the list of mods, so I just made sure to write that down now. Okay, great. Really glad I didn't leave that one out. That's very useful for actually trying to find your mod. So, first thing that we're going to do before actually heading into the game is we're going to go over to options, because there's a few things I want to make mention of. First of all, in the list of options, under display window, you're going to want to change this to borderless window. By default, it should be full screen. If I were you, I'd go ahead and change this to borderless window. What this is going to do is if a notification or something pops up outside of your game, by default, if this is stayed at full screen, it's going to kick you out of the game and bring you back to, whether you're on a Mac or a Windows or a Linux, it's going to bring you back to your desktop. And if you're in the middle of a fight, you're dead. Borderless window will keep you in the game, however, it will turn off your controls for a slight second. So if you're driving and you get a notification, you're not going to be able to have key bindings anymore. You're going to press W and you're just not going to go anywhere. A quick way to fix that is just quickly click on your screen and you will have controls again. Resolution, keep that the same. ISO cursor visibility. You want to set this to 75%. I don't remember what it is by default, but this is 75% is the best. Aim outline, you're going to want to change this to any weapon. This is going to show the zombies outline when you are in range for any weapon, whether it's a gun or a melee. Definitely recommend that for sure. UI rendering frames per second, doesn't really matter too much. But the inventory container button size, if I were you, I'd switch it to large because, man, that stuff is small by default and you're going to be squinting a lot unless you change it to large. Zoom levels, I'd make sure all of these are enabled, especially that zoom is enabled. It's going to be very, very important. I like to pan camera while aiming. I never really play with pan camera while driving. However, I can see that being a very good thing to activate if you want to be able to pan while driving. I just personally haven't. Personally, for fonts, I set everything to large here. Again, I don't like squinting. Only other thing to mention is clock. If you're into the military time, by default it's at the 24-hour. Otherwise, if you're like me, I like the 12-hour climb. And then temperature, obviously, if you're not from America, you can set this to Celsius. If you're American like I am, Fahrenheit is what we use around here. So, blood decals. If you lag quite a bit, you're going to want to turn this down. As a matter of fact, it is a little bit too high for me, so I am going to turn it down. Here's just some other stuff that you can change if you want. You know, you got water quality. I usually turn down fog. Fog by default is super high. So, whereas fog quality, I turn that down to medium, just because that helps me. Because fog, it does, you lag quite a bit. So I'd go ahead and apply that, accept the changes. I just want to double check audio. Feel free to set that to what you'd like. Key bindings, same there. Don't know if there is any other thing. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. So, we went ahead and we changed our options. We talked a little bit about mods, and now it's actually time to get into the game. So, if you're loading up Project Zomboid for the first time, I don't think you're going to have this continue button. However, you will have the tutorial. I 100% recommend you go through the tutorial. It's a lot of fun. You learn about the cure to the virus. It's it's pretty good. So I recommend going through that. Otherwise, if you have played the tutorial or you just want to jump into it without the tutorial, which again, I really don't recommend, go ahead and head over here. We're going to head over to solo, and we're not going to pick one of these ones down here. Honestly, your best friend is going to be custom sandbox. You may have, depending on your mods, you may have some challenges. You're going to see your list of mods here. They'll all be listed there. Excuse me, I was yawning, but honestly, none of that's really important right now. What we're looking for is custom sandbox. We're gonna go next. Or not world 2 is what we want. So you're gonna see a bunch of different stuff on here. Some of these worlds are some of these might be modded. I don't remember. Yeah, like Super Giga Mart, that's modded. Pineville, that's modded. You don't need to worry about that. Yeah, these are turned off, so don't even worry about these. Same with this one. This is a modded rail, so you don't need to worry about this. Same with Pineville. We're not even going to look at those right now. These are extra mods, but we're going to look at the vanilla ones. You got Muldrow, Riverside, Rosewood, and West Point. Now, if you are a new player, there are a few of these I just don't recommend doing. Muldrow, I don't recommend that. This is a town. It's one of the bigger towns. You're going to have a hard time starting off there. Same with West Point. You're going to have a hard time going. You're honestly, your best bet are either Riverside or Rosewood. You're still probably going to have a hard time at Rosewood. If you want an easy town that's like good for beginners, Riverside's going to be your best friend. So we're going to start at Riverside. Some people like starting at Rosewood because there's the fire station and the police station. However, I don't think those two alone justify its location for a new player. I think Riverside is going to be your best friend because it's smaller, it's more out in the woods. Zombies are more broken up. It's just overall it's easier for new players. So we're going to go ahead. So now this is, if you pick sandbox options, you're going to get to this screen here. If you want, you could change this to Survivor for a little bit of an easier sandbox feel. Personally, I like keeping it at Apocalypse. That's just me. Usually keep normal, but if you're really timid about zombies and really just want to get used to playing the game, I'd recommend turning zombie count down to low. This is just going to give you less zombies. However, personally, I'm going to keep it at normal. What I would do is time. Go ahead and change. We're going to scroll down the bottom. Change this to 5 a.m. And this is because the first Life and Living show begins at 6 a.m. Personally, I like to change July down to May, just because it gives you, this is like late spring going into the beginning of the summer rather than halfway through the summer. Gives you more time in the warm months before summer hits. Again, I'd start at 5 a.m. These are kind of some things to keep in mind. The water shut off. I'm sorry guys, I keep yawning. And electricity shut off is between 0 in 30 days. You cannot change these, this time frame. They can't say exactly at 30 days. It's gonna be, you could start your game with 0 water and 0 electricity, and that sucks. Never had that happen, but the last couple playthroughs, I should say the last playthrough of my game, it was day 6, my water and electricity were both off, which is unfortunate. However, if you want to play with water and electricity, feel free to change these. Okay, you can change it from anywhere from 0 to 2 months down to a year. It's like half a year to a year. So, something that you can change. House alarms, locked doors, nothing I would really change here. Gas station. Yeah, nothing I really change. You guess you could if you want a gas station to have more fuel, you can change that there. You can even change it to infinite if you want. Um, I guess it depends on how long you plan on playing in your world. Um, Nature, nothing here that I'd change. Now we'll get into this, but if you're unfamiliar with the helicopter event, it's an event that happens the first week of your character's life where a helicopter shows up and causes a whole bunch of havoc. And if you're crazy, you can change this to happen more than once. But by default, it happens one times. And there are other meta events like distant gunshots, there's screams. There's this concept of a sleeping event, but I've never turned that. It's off by default. You got some generator stuff here. Nothing crazy. The only thing that I would may want to change is if you're looking for better XP, you can change the multiplier. There's okay, so if you downloaded some of the mods that I have in the list, one of the mods allows for a mini map. I would turn that on. Now I'm not sure, this may actually also be vanilla. I recommend turning it on. It just makes sense. I don't recommend turning on all known on start. I think it kind of takes away from the game. Vehicles. Okay, so by default, initial car has gas is low, and initial gas is low. I just I've played with this. This is in the normal settings, and honestly, I have trouble reconciling it because you start off at like day 6, 5. I think it's like day 3, maybe or day 2. Very low in terms of when the outbreak occurs. You're like anywhere from the 2nd to 4th day of the outbreak is when your character starts. So early on in the infection, but high in our specific area. And yet, there's like no gasoline in any car. And cars just don't, which doesn't make any sense. So if I personally would change these. Car spawn rate, okay, you can keep that as it kind of makes sense that there's less cars, people are getting out of there. But for no cars to have any gasoline, just for me seems crazy. So I'd go ahead and change that. Everything else, keep that the same. Zombie lore, okay. So it might do you well to change transmission to saliva only, um, or none. None might be best for new players. What does this mean? This means if you get bit, you get scratched, you will not become infected. Uh, Granted, you could, again, by default, if you get bit, game over. You're done. You're going to die. You can change this so that a bite is not something that can kill you. Well, will not 100% kill you. However, bites will still mess you up. And with this turned off, if you get bit, you're going to be down for like a week. And that's without taking like a slow to heal debuff. It's going to be like 2 weeks if you got the slow to heal. It'll still mess you up. However, it's not 100% fatal. You can still die from the bite, but it's not 100% fatal. By default, I forgot what this was. Blood and saliva. By default, if you get scratched or bit, you have a chance of dying. And here's the amount of days. I would, however, change this to 1 to 2 weeks. Mainly, you know what? No, sorry. I keep that 2 to 3 days. Reanimate time, I change that to 1 to 2 weeks. And that's just because, honestly, it could be 0 to 1 minute is very frustrating, or 0 to 30 seconds, because essentially your character dies, immediately becomes a zombie, and he can walk off with all your stuff. It just sucks. I've had it happen quite a few times. If you want to change anything about the zombies, you can change that. But personally, I'm going to keep this on just because I'm a little bit more familiar with the game. But again, if you're a new person, change it to none. Nothing wrong with that. Again, this game is about you having fun. So do what's fun for you. I am going to change the reanimated time. Mortality rate, we're going to keep the same. Fast shamblers by default. I don't like sprinters. Population, you can change the starting population, common sense. Okay, this is the mod that I have, and this allows all doors to become pryable. Whether or not you can pry them open depends on your strength and other factors, but it at least allows them to be pryable. I like that. Obvious collections. We're getting some of the mod settings. Now become desensitized. This is a cool mod. We're gonna keep that. Nothing really crazy here. Okay, we're gonna keep this. Okay, this is another mod called Skill Recovery Journal. Whether or not I'll make it in this round, I'm not sure, but it's a journal that allows you to keep track of your skills. So if you die, you can go ahead and read this journal and recover your skills. It's pretty great, honestly. For new people, it's pretty great. I'll keep these the same. Drip irrigation mod. This is the mod that allows you to make irrigation pipes. Pretty cool. Alright, the only cure. Cooking stuff. Prim light. This is another one, become brave, similar to become desensitized. So we're going to save this as new player. Oh, new player. New player walkthrough. Great. So we're going to save. Oh, we already saved. Next. Okay, so now we get into some of the fun stuff. We got past the settings, and now we're at traits and occupations. And what exactly is this? Well, this is kind of a list of things that you take as an when going to. So you can take an occupation. So you can say there are these things called points. You have points to spend, and depending on what you take, you may have extra points. You may have negative points. And so if I were to take something like a burglar, I have -6 points. And that means in order for me to continue, I have to get this at least to 0. So I got to take some debuffs. And now certain ones are more expensive than others. Veterans are more expensive. However, for new players, what I recommend taking, if you wanted to take an occupation, is burglar. And that's because you get 2 to nimble, 2 to sneaking, and 2 to lightfoot. So you're quieter, you're better at walking backwards when fighting, and the biggest thing is that you can hotwire vehicles. You also have a less chance of breaking the locks of a window. Not that big of a deal. But the biggest thing is that you can hotwire vehicles by default. That's huge. Normally, to hotwire vehicles, you need 2 in electrical and 2 in mechanics, 1 in electrical. But as a burglar, if you take the burglar trait, you don't need that anymore. You can just do it by default. Some other good ones to note are carpenters. So you get +3 to carpentry. You get a nice short blunt buff as well, and some firewood, but that's not really cool. It's essentially the +3 to carpentry is huge. You could take that mixed with handy, which is one of the traits that you could take. I think it's handy. Yeah, to get it plus. And just with these two, you also have to spend some point. But with +4 to carpentry, you can make rain barrels, which are needed to hold water after the water shuts off. So, and just starting the game, you can already make rain barrels, which is huge. That's pretty huge. So I'm gonna remove that. But for me, I guess let's see if there's another good one that people like to take is lumberjack. So the slightly faster movement through the force would be pretty nice, but mainly people take it for the +2 to axe. Um, that's huge. You get +2 in axe. Axes are very powerful weapons in the game. Engineering is also a popular one. You can make different types of bombs, stuff that you can't normally make. You also get +1 to electrical and carpentry. So there's some pretty cool stuff that you can make, what you can do with that. Not all of them are useful. Repairman's kind of useful. So you get +2 to maintenance, and maintenance just allows any melee weapon to last longer. So having +2 to maintenance is pretty cool. But if you don't want a profession, you can choose to be unemployed, and you get 8 free points to spend. And so personally, I'm gonna take unemployed because I don't think I need to do any of these ones. However, if you're just starting off, I would think that burglar is probably if you want a car, if a car is very important to you, then burglar is your best friend. Now that we talked about occupation, let's go to the traits. I think first it's important to talk about the negative traits. So there's positive traits and negative traits. And the way that traits and moodles work in this games are kind of opposites. The higher you go in numbers, the worse you are. So negative traits add numbers for you to spend. So the more negative traits you take, the more amount of points you get to spend. The more negative positive traits you take, the less amount of points you have. So there are a few traits in here that are just worth staying away from as a new player and worth taking. And so I kind of want to go over those. I mean, we're just going down from the top. Sunday driver, you get +1 and you drive very slow. So you get 40% less acceleration, minus 30%, I'm sorry, minus 40% acceleration, minus 30% reverse acceleration, and a max speed of 30 miles an hour. I have taken this trait one time, and let me tell you, it is not worth it. This should be a +10, not a +1. The max speed of 30 miles an hour is horrendous. It will get you killed. It's not a matter of if. Sunday driver will kill you at some point. You cannot run over any. If you run over a zombie, it doesn't matter the vehicle you're in, it will stop your car. A single zombie, and that will kill you. You can't drive on the grass. That will kill you. So I highly recommend to steer clear of that. It's just not worth the 1 point. All thumbs. I don't recommend that either. It makes transferring items is already a slow process. Having a plus 300% transferring time for 2 points, you're going to spend so much time moving stuff over. It's just not worth it. Clumsy. Now, this one isn't bad. So you make a little bit more noise, and you have a chance of tripping when you're running over a fence or getting attacked by a lunging zombie, but you also have a chance of falling when bumping into a zombie, but unless you're going to Louisville right away, this is not that big of a deal. It's not as bad as it seems. Cowardly. So, this one's going to depend on how you play the game. If you want to go big into guns early on, cowardly is going to be really hard because this is going to increase your chance to become panicked. And panic, the higher panic level you have, the less the gun damage that you do. So if you're extremely panicked, you're going to do close to no damage with a firearm. So unless you have the become desensitized mod or just become desensitized via vanilla, which you can do vanilla, but it takes a lot longer. I would, or again, yeah, if you plan on shooting a gun early on, I'd steer clear of this. However, if you don't plan on using guns early on, and you do plan on killing a lot of zombies, this is an easy 2 points. Just stick with your melee, wait till you become brave or desensitized if you have those mods, or desensitized by default. Just go ahead and look it up on the Project Zomboid wiki to see what that number is, and you'll be able to do that. This one's a very easy skill, short-sighted, so you need glasses, or else you have a lower visibility fade, but your character can start with glasses by default. I guess the only downside is if you want to wear a mask, such as like if you're using a torch and you need a mask. it'll take your glasses off. But or if you want to play with a mask, like a hockey mask for added face protection, you can't wear a mask and glasses. But honestly, I with Build 42 coming, they're going to be adjusting it so wearing masks and certain helmets is going to affect your vision anyways. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I just take it and wear glasses. It's not that mask. I haven't made a difference on the mask. So slow reader. If you're playing on single player, which I'm guessing most of you are doing, first starting out, I'd take it. You have a 30% slower reading speed, but you can speed up time and just read a book. And it's not like all thumbs where you're constantly moving stuff in and out of inventories. Slow reader is only when you're reading books. So this is just a free 2 points. Same with weak stomach, a higher chance of food illnesses and that's only if you eat rotten food. But I have never, ever, ever I've never needed to eat rotten food. So I would take this because it's a free 3 points. Agoraphobic, uh, panicked outdoors. I mean, I'll be honest, you're gonna spend most of your time outdoors, so I recommend steering clear of this. Claustrophobic, I guess it's hit or miss. It depends on where you are. I've never taken it, but if you plan on building a base in somewhere like a warehouse or something that's very open, it's doable. But anytime you go to loot any area, you better have some beta blockers on you, which help reduce panic. Because sleeping's going to be hard. If you're sleeping in a small area, you're going to be panicked and you might not be able to fall asleep. So that's something to keep in mind. Conspicuous. Honestly, for a new player, this one's bad. It increases the range which a zombie sees you by 100%. And honestly, I've noticed a huge difference. It just makes the game a little more difficult early on for new players. So yes, it's 4 points, but personally, I would steer clear of this. I would also steer clear of disorganized because it lowers your inventory capacity by 30%, and that's everything. That's your backpacks, those are crates, that's trunks, that's everything. It's just not worth it. 4 points, you're going to be constantly trying to find space. It's just not worth it. Hard of hearing, that's honestly for hardcore players. This is gonna kill you 100% if you take this. Your perception, yeah, you're like essentially deaf. Not a good idea. Hearty appetite, you already need to eat a lot. I'd recommend staying clear of this one. Now, pacifist. Ooh, it depends. If you have mods that give you skill books in some of these areas, go for it, because this is not going to be that big of a deal. If you're not playing with mods for skill books and maintenance, for example, like I do in this playthrough, I have mods that give me skill books for weapons and maintenance and aiming skills. And so I'd probably take, however, I don't think I'm gonna use it this playthrough, so I might not take it. But if you don't have that, having a minus 25% XP to all weapon skills is gonna suck. It's gonna be terrible. I'll just be 100% honest with you. Prone to illness. So, it sounds like what it is. You're more prone to disease. So once you have the Nox virus, you're gonna become a zombie sooner. You can also get the cold faster. Um, so, but honestly, this is an easy one. I'd take it because, I mean, if you're gonna become a zombie, you're gonna become a zombie anyways. And prone to illness is very easily balanced with one of the positive traits, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I believe it's called like outdoorsman. It's very easily manageable. And the positive trait, I think it's, I'll just show them real quick. Yeah, outdoorsman. It's only -2. So you could take this, where you go, this, and still have an extra 2 points. So I would take it. Sleepyhead, need more sleep on its own. If you were just going to take this by itself, I would say don't. But there is a positive trait that balances this out. So I would take it in that case. Smoker, this is a pretty easy one, especially if you have a couple cigarettes mods. You have to, if you're gonna play this game and not play it with any cigarette mods or not kill that many zombies, this is going to be the bane of your existence. However, if you're going to add some mods that make the game have more cigarettes, which kind of makes sense anyways, this mod's going to be pretty easy to manage. So I would take it if you had mods, or if you're an expert player, or even like a mid-game player that knows where to find cigarettes. Otherwise, if not, you maybe want to steer clear of it. Unlucky. Ah, I've heard people talk about this both ways. I've heard that it's not that big of a deal. I've heard that it is a big deal. So it really depends on how much you're going to be looting. If you're going to be looting a lot, probably won't make that big of a deal. If you're going to play the game more passively, that 10% is going to make a big deal for you. So kind of leave that up to you. Asthmatic, faster endurance loss. I personally steer clear of that because you're going to be running a lot. Fear of blood. Um, cannot perform first aid on others is not that bad. Get stressed when bloody. You're going to be bloody a lot. Like, you're going to be bloody a lot in this game. So you're going to need a lot of beta blockers to balance that out. Not the end of the world, but something to keep in mind, especially if you're using guns. Less knockback from melee weapons. Decreased carrying weight. So yeah, that one's up to you. I don't recommend it personally, just because the less knockback from melee weapons is kind of huge, and so is the decreased carrying weight. High thirst. Honestly, thirst is one of the easiest things to manage in this game. It's plus 6 points. I would 100% take it. Out of shape. Okay, so this is, I believe, you have low endurance. You're just kind of like out of shape. Kind of up to you. Personally, I wouldn't take it just because the low endurance regeneration and getting fitness to level 5 isn't easy unless you take traits. Overweight. Personally, I'd steer clear of overweight and obese just because the yeah, so it's really hard. It's a lot easier to be underweight than it is overweight for many reasons. You're just capped you're capped due to overweight more than being underweight. So I'd leave that alone. Restless sleeper. Okay. So this is the one that I would take personally over Sleepyhead. Sleepyhead, yeah, I would take Restless Sleeper. So you sleep less, and it's a 50% lower loss of tiredness when sleeping. So you get plus 6 points for it versus plus 4. But there is a trait that the positive trait that essentially gives you more sleep when you sleep. So it's pretty easy to manage. Slow healer, I'd recommend taking that. It takes a while for you to heal. Not that big of a deal. Same with I would steer clear of slow learner because it's already hard enough to level up in this game. Underweight. I would start off early on with underweight. You're gonna do less damage, and you're gonna be able to trip. You're gonna lose 1 fitness level, which is not too bad, but you just need to gain 5 pounds, which is not that hard in this game. You just eat a bunch of food when you start and you're good. You can ignore this. This is extra, illiterate, horrible. Don't take, you cannot I don't even know why this is that you can't read books, which books and magazines are necessary to almost everything in this game. So, terrible idea. Thin-skinned. I mean, if ugh, yeah, I don't recommend it because especially the 100% chance of getting scratched by trees, just not good. Better chance of getting injured by zombies because that's especially if you're paying with infection on. That's gonna be it. 100%. That's gonna be it. Obese, again, I already talked about that. I'd stay away from it. Unfit, you're just out of shape. Very underweight. Essentially, you're anorexic. This one is not as easy as underweight. And personally, I would steer clear of it unless you've died, you got a new character, you already have a base, you got a lot of food stored up. At that point, yeah, go ahead. Your next character, take it. But starting off, it's gonna be too difficult. Look, minus 40% melee damage. That's gonna be really hard. I'd stay clear of weak. Um, Death, that's like hardcore mode. And then this is just a mod. So these are the debuffs. So with those in mind, I'm going to go ahead and take the ones that I want. I'm going to take clumsy because making a little bit more noise is okay. I'm okay with that. I'm going to take cowardly because I don't plan on using guns that much. We're going to do slow reader, short-sighted. Okay, we're good there. We're going to take weak stomach, prone to illness, smoker. Yeah, I'm going to take unlucky, actually. You know what? For the sake of this game, I'm not gonna take unlucky. But we'll take high thirst. And we'll take restless sleeper. We're gonna take underweight. Slow healer. And look, we got 51 points. Holy moly. See, this seems like a lot, but a lot of it is very manageable. We're about to see that it's very manageable. Okay, so starting from the top, and I'm gonna actually go through it at the same time. We're gonna take fast driver, so you are 100% faster at switching gears, and you have a plus 15% top speed for all vehicles. That's great. However, when you reverse, it's loud as crap. So try not to reverse. Cat's eyes gives you better vision at night. That's pretty cool. I just recommend not being outside at night, personally. Then there's dexterous. So this is the opposite of this all thumbs. It's 50% faster for you to transfer items. 100% recommend taking that. Because it's just, you're going to be doing a lot of that. Outdoorsman, so this pretty much 90% chance. So you have so you don't have to worry about storms or harsh weather conditions anymore. You're not affected by them anymore. So you're not going to get cold. It's going to lower your chance of getting scratched by trees. Lighting fires is great. This one's pretty good. I'd take outdoorsman. As a matter of fact, wasn't there a something about not that one? Wouldn't that be ironic? No, I think that's it. Okay, we may have taken it already. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. So we took, where was it? Restless sleeper. Well, then there's wakeful. So look at that. Minus 30% tiredness rate, and you get a plus 25% rate recovery when sleeping. And so honestly, what happens is you only sleep with restless sleeper. You sleep 4 hours a night when you're tired, versus 8 hours a night. And it's minus 50% slower rate of recovery. With wakeful, it's only minus 25%. And you could still, what you do is you sleep 4 hours, wait an hour, sleep 4 more hours, and you're pretty much fine. So you pretty much just need to sleep 9 hours instead of 8 hours, and it's not that bad. It's very manageable. Angler, so you can do some fishing. This is a mod. Baseball player, so you get plus 1 long bunt. Cool if you like that. First aid, you really don't need it. It's unfortunately where the game is at. It's not that big of a deal. Gardener, so you can do some stuff with farming. And on being sneaky, this is a great one for you. If you plan on walking around with a short blade and just like one-shotting zombies with a knife, great. Personally, not that big of a deal. Light eater. You need to eat less regularly. It might be worth it, because man, you need to eat a lot. So you know what? I'm gonna go back. If I have extra points, I'm gonna go back to this. Lucky. So it's pretty much the opposite of unlucky. Things just go your way. It's pretty great. I want to take it actually. So, but again, it really comes down to how much are you looting. Like nutritionist, so you can see the nutrition value of food. Kind of cool, but if you cook, you'd be able to fight. Again, it's not that better. Running is pretty cool. You get plus 1 to sprinting. Slower, you get plus 1 tailoring. Okay, now we start getting to some of the good stuff. So mechanics. So you got detailed knowledge of common and commercial vehicle models and repairs. That's pretty cool. We're getting to some of the good stuff right now. Gymnast. Okay, so you have plus 1. Lightfoot plus 1. Well, you see how the points go up as we start getting into the better traits. The numbers start going up. Same with the debuffs. You start getting into like big, huge debuffs. Like I'm gonna amputate my left arm. Okay, that's pretty bad. Yeah, that's how that works. So gymnast, brawler, that's pretty good. You get plus 1 axe, plus 1 long box, cook. So you, personally, don't think this is worth it. I would not take this one. Fast learner, 100% worth it. I would take that because you're a lot better at learning how to do everything except for fitness and strength. So here's where we start getting in some of the good stuff. Fit, replaced by athletic. So you are fit, which is great. You get +2 to fitness. Keep in mind, if you're going to take fit, if you are underweight, you got -1 fitness. So you're only getting +1 here. And if you take anorexic, which is very underweight, you know what, I don't think it's showing up because we took underweight. So if we remove this, then it should say very underweight. See how it's -2 fitness? Cancels it out. So just be aware of that. Go back to underweight. Excuse me. Former scout. Not bad. So if you want to spend a lot of time outside, this might be a good one for you. Get some first aid, some foraging, get some weather effects. It's pretty good. Herbalist. So this is, you can find medicinal herbs and craft medicines from them. This is pretty good if you want to do some foraging. Hikers, you can make traps if you want to trap some animal. Keen hearing. This one is huge. If you can afford it, it's going to save your life multiple times. So this is going to increase the radius, your perception radius all around you, but also specifically behind you. So by default, if you're walking backwards, and let's say there's zombies in front of you that you're hitting, and you're walking backwards, and a zombie approaches you from behind, you're pretty much dead. You're not going to be able to get away. He's going to bite you or something, and you're going to get eaten. With keen hearing, you're going to be able to see that zombie behind you from twice as far away, if not more than that. Oh, 150% away. So about a times and a half. And you're going to have time to react and get out of the way before he gets you. So I'm going to take that for sure. Organized, this is the opposite of disorganized. So every storage capacity is +30%, including car seats. So that is really good. I'm going to take that. This one's really good if you can afford it. Extra knockback from melee weapons and increased carrying weight. That's super cool. Plus you get an extra +2 strength. However, I believe it is replaced by strong. See when it says replaced by strong, we're reaching level 9. Keep that in mind. If you don't want, if you can afford strong, it's -10. I would take that. I'm actually going to take strong, so I'm going to take that right off the bat. Strong, again, it brings your strength up to level 9. So you get +40% melee damage. You get extra knockback from melee weapons. Since we're going for more of a melee build, this is great. Let's see here. Handy. So you're fat. You can build great construction. You get +1 maintenance, +1 carpentry. This one's pretty good. So we got 12 points. So was that hunter? So you know all recipe traps. That's pretty cool. Thick skin. Less chance of getting scratched or bite. Excuse me. Something to keep in mind. And then athletics, can faster running speed, can run for longer without tiring. -60%. Loss of endurance, +4 fitness. So that is something to keep in mind. Remember, we did take underweight, so we have a -1 to fitness. So this is pretty good if you want to run around a lot. However, I don't think increasing sprinting is not that hard. Increasing fitness is pretty hard though. So keep that in mind. Thick skin. So for me, it's between thick skin and handy. It's really all I got enough points for, anyways. I can only take one of those or one of these. The maintenance is pretty good since we're going for a melee build, and so is having a +1 to carpentry. Let's take handy. So that leaves us with 4 points left to spend. So we're going to go up to here. We're going to just look through one more time. You know, that's pretty good. You know what? We're going to take Light Eater. You know, one thing to keep in mind is you might get hungry less often, but that's not necessarily a good thing if you still have to maintain your weight. So even if you don't get hungry, you could still be losing weight. So that is something to keep in mind. Let's see here. Runner, nutritionist, light eater. So how about we take inconspicuous? That'll be fun. Okay, so now we are at 0, unless we wanted to take something like pacifist. Which again, we got... Might not be bad, because what? We took... Fast learner, we get plus 30% for all skills. Pacifist gives us minus 20% for all weapon skills. So they kind of... They balance themselves out. However, it only gives us plus 4. And when it comes to the plus 4 category, I pretty much got everything that I want. So I think if there's anything in plus 6. Let's see, brawler, cook, fit. Yeah, no, I think we're good. So we're going to save this. We'll call it new player. Great. So we're going to go next. Okay, so I'm going to play a guy, but I'm going to random him up a little bit. What do we got here? Okay, cool. Coy Billingsley. So we're going to name this guy Reverend underscore gamer. Just the first. So all this stuff really doesn't matter. Beard, cool, hair. One thing to keep in mind, your hair grows in the game. So you can have like a buzz cut. That's not a buzz cut. You can be bald, but by like 2 months in the game, your hair is like down to your butt. I swear, your hair grows at just a ridiculous rate. So something to keep in mind. Hat. Yeah, why not? We're gonna give him a hat. Baseball cap. That looks terrible. Let's give him a bucket hat. Oh my gosh, let's just give him a fedora. Yeah, Walter White. Glasses, since we took the short-sighted, we're gonna wear some glasses. Cool. Vest. I'd wear all the shirts that you can. I'm gonna wear a formal shirt. Make sure that you're wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. Long sleeves gives you a little bit more protection. We're gonna wear pants. We're gonna wear jeans, socks, long socks, shoes. Shoes are better than sneakers. Don't know why, but they are. And the reason why I want to wear all this stuff is you're gonna be hot, but you're gonna rip some of these clothes and make bandages right away. So we're gonna save this guy. We're gonna call him new player. Reverend underscore gamer, actually. Save. And we are ready to go.